Hello, what's up, everybody? It's Fitshell. Happy Saturday to you. We are officially 1 week and 2 days out of hip replacement surgery. I thought I'd have a special guest with me today, my wonderful wife.
Hi.
I thought that it'd be good from a caretaker's point of view just to talk about some of the issues and things that we had to go through. So before I kind of interview her, ask her some specific questions, I wanted to kind of let you all know exactly what it is. So I was born with hip dysplasia, which means that the socket is shallow. So my kind of like my pelvis is shallow, and so it doesn't, the ball or the femoral head doesn't fit into the socket correctly. It's supposed to cover up the socket. I should have put that down there. So kind of should cover the ball like this, nice and tight and secure. But when you have hip dysplasia, what happens is you have a shallow hip socket, and so your hip socket kind of goes like this. So the femoral head is kind of outside of that, which will cause the cartilage to wear down quicker over time, and then you end up getting bone on bone, which happens. So some people that you hear that say they have hip replacement, usually they're older, and usually it's not because of hip dysplasia. It's usually because they're older and they've had arthritis, and they've kind of over the years worn down their the cartilage in that hip socket. So the other issue that I have is called a cam hip impingement, which means I have extra growth growing around the bone head, which means it's not a smooth surface. So every time, let's go back to my cute little display here so I can show you. So that means that every time the ball is rolling around there, if it's a smooth ball, then it rolls and moves and your leg can do everything that it's supposed to. But when you have a cam hip impingement, that means that you have this extra growth growing on the bone of the femoral head, and so it's not smooth. And so it kind of hits that cartilage, kind of the labrum. And so what happens is it wears that down over time, but more rapidly because it's not smooth. They like to explain it like tread on a tire. If things are not in line, the tread on the tire goes out a lot more quickly than when everything is in alignment and it's nice and smooth. So that is the reason at 35, young, healthy adult that I am, had to go in for hip replacement. It is not just because I was bone on bone. It's also because of the hip dysplasia that was not detected when I was a child, and also the cam hip impingement. So I have two issues that are gonna constantly be, yes, the hip replacement fixed the hip dysplasia and the cam hip, because now that ball is artificial. it's titanium, and so now it rolls around there nice. But unfortunately on my right hip I have the same thing, and we just don't know exactly when, but that will have to get replaced as well. So I wanted to give you a little bit more background, and everybody's hip replacement recovery is different, obviously. I've told you some of the challenges with mine, but we're working on it. So let me now introduce you to my wife, Sadia.
Hello.
So Sadia, I'm gonna go down here where she is now. Don't forget your cane. If I don't have it, I waddle. So with the hip replacement surgery, what was the biggest shock to you once I got home? Or no, maybe like even before surgery, what was the biggest shock to you where you knew, oof, this ain't good?
I think the biggest shock were on some of the mornings when you woke up and stood up and couldn't put pressure on your leg. The hip had gotten so painful that you literally could not walk. And I think that was the biggest shocker to me. I didn't expect it to get that bad before surgery came.
And so I explained to some of the people here that when you, she's cooking us omelets, that's why we're in the kitchen. She's the best. She's the best cook. I explained to some of you all that it was not only my hip, your hip is affected to so many other things, and I was having pain going all the way up through my back, through my neck, where I couldn't lift my arms up. And so Sadi was there to help me. So tell me kind of your experience as a spouse, having to help, your wife put her clothes on and, put her pants on and put her shirt on What was that like to you, and kind of how did you feel in that moment?
I mean, it was terrifying, but going through it in the moment, I mean, you just get numb. You just kind of, you have to numb yourself. And I compartmentalize really well. And so for me, it was just a matter of focusing on the task at hand and just trying not to let myself dwell on how deteriorated, you were becoming. Because we had a goal, we had a purpose we were trying to work through and get towards. So for me, I couldn't let myself just dwell on the emotions of that moment. But in the quietude and when I did have time to think about just where things were, I mean, it was absolutely terrifying. It was unbelievable. I never thought, I mean, when you marry someone, of course you marry for richer or poor, sickness and health. I never imagined that you would become so ill and debilitated in such a short period of time. 10 years of knowing you and loving you and being with you, and you being so healthy, of course, the picture, the model of health. It's just something that doesn't fit, your schema and what you expect. So it's scary.
Yeah. On my end, it was, my goodness, we are not supposed to get to this until we are 70 and 80 years old when you expect it, because you've lived this full and wonderful life together, and now it's time for you two to take care of each other. And that just was not the case. I felt like, my body and my mind, well, my mind and in my head was young, but my body was just so old where I could not do some of these daily tasks that we're so lucky to be able to do and don't even think about it.
Yes.
So when you were in the hospital waiting, they said it could take anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours. So of course, my dad and his wife Sharon were there. What was going through your mind? What did you all talk about during the time that I was totally knocked out into surgery, getting my new hip?
I was trying really hard to focus on positive outcomes instead of negative outcomes. So instead of praying for no complications, for example, I prayed for the surgery to go smoothly. I prayed for the surgeon to be rested and to have steady nerves and hands. I prayed for the surgical team to be rested and on point and alert and steady. So I try to focus on positive outcomes, because when you tell yourself to think about, when you try and tell yourself, what are you doing?
Yep.
When you try and tell yourself not to think about something, what do? You think about the thing you're trying not to think about. So I try to think about things that were good for me to think about. But my thinking was often interrupted by Michelle's father, who wanted to talk about my summer and wanted to talk about golf. I think those were his ways of coping by trying to distract himself. He and I cope a lot differently. For me, I'm a very quiet person. I'm a thinker. I like to reflect. And he likes to talk. And I think for him, having the outward distractions of asking about, things like golf was just his way of trying to just manage the situation. And just so much of it was unknown and so far beyond our ability to control. So those were the longest 90 minutes, I would say, of my life.
And now, since we have come home out of the hospital, how has caregiving been? Was it what you thought it was going to be? Has it been different, better, worse? What are the things that you've loved, and what are the things that you've not expected?
Caregiving has been a lot easier. Caring for you and managing your hip has been a lot easier. The aftercare has been easier than I expected. I thought I was going to have to do a lot more hands-on, we call ADL care. Activities of daily living. I thought I was going to have to help you bathe, and toilet, and clean up after toileting, and those kinds of things. And you never needed that kind of help from me at all. It's like you were very efficient, surprisingly so. I mean, and healthily so. Not because you were doing things you shouldn't have done. You just didn't require that level of care. So that was a surprise. So the only thing
Don't you love her? She was willing to wipe my butt.
I was willing
She's
to wipe your
great.
booty. The only thing you needed help with has been what we call independent activities of daily living. So helping you, like, maybe get your clothes together, cooking, running errands. We had a lot of friends and family. Her dad and his wife came back through People came by and brought us food and groceries and wine for me, and water and ice, and so it's just been a really great community. For me personally, I've enjoyed the time off from work. I've told Michelle so much that I'm thinking about finding ways to keep her sick so I can stay home and keep taking care of her, because this has been a pretty awesome gig. The hardest part of looking after you really has been just seeing you go through it, just seeing you go through the pain. You know, it's gotten better, you know, thankfully, each day. But seeing you in pain, seeing you in discomfort, having you toss and turn at night because you can't get comfortable, that's been the hardest part, because I just don't like to see you in pain and suffering. That just, it eats me up. If I could take that away, everything would be perfect.
All right, there we go. Wanted to just give you the perspective of a caregiver. You really do need somebody. Like to say it, I'm a very independent person, and of course she's had to stop me from doing the things that I feel like I'm ready to or want to do before, but you need a support team. Like she said, my family was here, my dad, my aunt, awesome friends. You really do need those people around you, and you need somebody around you really 24/7 for that, at least that first week, because you are dependent on somebody to help you get ice, to help you stand up, to help you maneuver. For the first, week, you're pretty much on that walker. So you need both hands to push the walker until you get on your cane. Now that I'm on my cane, I still need one hand on the cane. So how much can you really carry with one hand? So those are just some things to think about for hip replacement. But so far, I am happy that I did it, because I don't have the pain that I did before. Yeah, absolutely. It's just navigating now how to get back to daily life, taking it, one step at a time, and telling myself that I'm on the right track and I'm moving as fast as I need to be moving. So this is Fit Shell checking in with my wife, Sadia.
Bye.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Weekend.
Bye.